Well, welcome everyone, and welcome Dr. Douglas Graham. So stoked to have you back for the common misconceptions of the 80-10-10 diet, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Chris. Really looking forward to this. We should have a good fun time.
I absolutely think so. The first one was a hell of a lot of fun, and I think if you guys haven't seen the first one, we go over a lot of really fun topics. I really recommend you check it out. I'll have a link above and or below. We went into certain foods that some people think may or may not be a part of the diet, and basics of 80-10-10, grazing versus meals, the difference between men and women, and meal plans and 80-10-10. It was a lot of fun stuff, but we have a
There's
bunch
so
of
many
different
misconceptions.
misconceptions.
There's
Yeah, there's
just
so
so many
many.
misconceptions. It's amazing.
And, as we kind of said before, a lot of them come from people who just haven't read the book. It's kind of funny. They think they know what's going on because they heard someone explain something, but realistically, I recommend everyone read the book, The 80-10-10 Diet. If you don't know Dr. Doug Graham by now, I don't know where you've been, spearheading the low-fat, raw vegan
Thank you.
lifestyle and spreading it far and wide. I wouldn't be here without you, Doug. So, I'm really, really thankful for you and how you've changed my life and the lives of thousands. But 80-10-10 Diet, I'd say it's like a raw food Bible, I dare say. So I recommend everyone check that out.
Thank
Um,
you very, very much.
Such a pleasure, man. Such a pleasure. So one of the misconceptions is that some people think that this lifestyle is just way too strict, that it's just biting your nails and you got to force yourself and use tons and tons of discipline. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I'm not a willpower guy. I'm not a discipline guy. Uh, I'm I'm a very goal-oriented person, and
Yeah.
it's I find it quite easy to go after my goals, but I think everybody else does too. I think people are like that. You go after what you want out of
Yeah.
life, whatever it might be. And so uh, I don't recommend that people force themselves to eat 80-10-10, or to go raw or vegan or anything else, or to exercise or even to go to bed at night. Uh, I'm so, what do I want the outcome to be oriented? That's me. What do I want the outcome to be? Tomorrow morning, do I want to be rested or do I want to drag myself out of bed because I have to? Well,
Yeah.
no, I want to be rested. So I go to bed tonight. Uh, how do I want to perform when I'm 70, 80, 90? I'm going to take care of myself in such a way so that I can have the kind of health that I want to have. Some people don't understand that health isn't just a crapshoot, that it's not an accident. The old saying, you open the window and influenza, it just
Yeah.
happened. Um, they think that Skylab could fall on them or they could get hit by a bus, so they might as well just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And that's, in some senses, that's true of individuals, but it's not true of groups. What we find with groups is that groups that take better care of themselves are healthier groups, and that the individuals in that group are healthier. So if you want to stack the lifestyle cards in your favor,
Mhm.
you want to be strong. I guess maybe there's 1 in a million people who are strong, whether they do strength training or not. But most people are strong because they do strength training.
Yeah.
Or most people that are good at cardio do cardio training. Or most people that are flexible do flexibility training. It doesn't just happen uh, I don't find 80-10-10 to be restrictive
Mhm.
or stoic, if you want to use that word.
Yeah.
I don't find it to be hardcore. I find being sick to be really horrible.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Yeah.
I don't enjoy the days spent in bed ill.
Mhm.
If you want to spend a day in bed because you're reading such a good book, you don't want to get out of bed. Well, fine, nice to have
Yeah.
that freedom.
Yeah.
But to be sick, and you're in and out of consciousness and fevers and everything hurts and your stomach's upset and you smell bad and whatever else, and you're not yourself, and being sick, being needing medical attention in any fashion, just not being your usual full go for it kind of guy or person, then to me, that's the hardship. That's the
Yeah.
restriction. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't go out and play because I'm sick, or oh, I don't have the energy to go do the things I want to do. For me, that's really tough.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to wait in doctor's offices so that I can go get tests, so that I can go get prescriptions, so that I can go get surgeries done or whatever else. To me, that's really hard. I
Yeah.
love having a body that works, having a mind that works, having a spirit that works, being able to remember things
Yeah.
and to accomplish things and to have visions of future wonderfulness that's yet to happen
Mhm.
and bringing that into reality. So for me, I know that I have to do what I have to do
Mhm.
in order to get what I want to get. So
Absolutely.
I want to get um, lots of wonderful times. I want to go out and ice skate with my daughter. I want to go on long walks with Rosie. I want to be able to visit with friends and participate in whatever they do. I like taking care of my garden. So I go out and rake leaves. I want to be able to do stuff.
Yeah.
I feel better when I eat fruits and vegetables than when I eat anything that isn't fruits and vegetables. And I tried and tried and tried and gave everything else lots of chances until I finally gave in and learned my lesson and said, you know what, it's going to be fruits and vegetables because they always work.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be, meat and potatoes because it never works.
Yeah.
It just
No, I hear
never
you.
works. We tried over and over and over. Bottled bag, boxed and canned and whatever else it was, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, yes, I know all the health stuff and I know the science and the information. And yes, I like fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Turns out in my life, I pretty much like everything I ever tried, like I like a lot of food.
Yeah.
So I stick to the stuff that likes me back. I stick to the foods that work for me. And that's fruits and vegetables. They just work so well. They get me oh, getting a good night's sleep every night, that works really well for the next day.
Yeah.
Doing my fitness activities, that works really well for being able to do more fitness activities, which I find fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel restricted. I honestly don't feel restricted. Would I like to be able to eat everything and do everything that comes into my head? Oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
And I've been asked that question.
Yeah.
If there were no negative repercussions of any kind,
Yeah.
would you eat cooked food?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would do everything if there were no negative repercussions. You'd
Yeah.
shoot
I'd be
heroin if there
smoking and
wasn't.
doing a whole bunch of stuff right
Yeah, of course. You chase after everything
now.
that draws your interest, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you just jump off buildings just to see what would happen.
Yeah.
But to
Yeah.
experience the fall, but the landing would be horrible. And so
Oh,
you just can't. You have to look at what will happen.
yeah.
It's not just, oh, here's an idea.
Yeah.
Well,
And they
let's.
bring their own restrictions, right? If you do those things, they bring up restrictions, and it really sounds too like, if you're walking a thin line with health, yeah, maybe there might be a little bit of strictness to regain health, but actually, living a healthful lifestyle opens up so much more opportunity, and the food itself, like when people first think of raw food, they might think, oh, banana, carrot, apple, but when you really get into it, there is endless variety, and between every single individual variety of fruit, it can taste totally different for every single one. So to me, I'm the same. Like I don't find it strict or restrictive. It's just you find the parameters that work so dang good for you and you really enjoy and don't give you restrictions back.
I think on this question, it's also who is saying what.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So there are some misconceptions, and you and I talked about it a little bit, the difference between misconceptions and excuses.
Yeah.
And I
Which will
think
be a different video.
but I think in this case, this misconception
Yeah.
is sometimes used or brought up as an excuse by people who really
Absolutely.
don't want to do it
Yeah.
in the first place. They don't
Yeah.
want to do it. And so any excuse will do, right? Like
Yeah.
any excuse is good enough. So
Yeah.
this is a good excuse for people who really don't want to do it. And the funny thing is, I don't know if there's anybody who wants to do it. It
Yeah.
wasn't like I didn't have some deep innate need to
I
want
want,
to become a raw fooder.
I wanted to party and eat pizzas and drink every night.
Absolutely, and it wasn't that I wanted to become a vegan or I wanted to eat mono meals or I wanted to uh I mean there's days where I don't want to go out and train
Yeah. Yeah.
as much as other days perhaps,
Yeah.
but again, I'm not talking about the activities. I'm talking about the results, the outcomes, the consequences of your activities.
Yeah.
And so for me, it wasn't, well, I just really want to eat mango.
Yeah.
It's, I want to eat what will give me the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be satisfied. I want to have excellent digestion. I want to have energy to spare. I want to love the taste of my food.
Dancing while you're eating it.
Yeah. I want to totally enjoy every bit of the day.
Yeah.
Not have
Even the bathroom visits.
Yeah, no indigestion.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So I want the outcomes.
Yeah.
And I can get that outcome, from a mango, and I don't get that outcome from a pizza.
Yeah.
I understand we can make raw vegan pizza, but an 80-10 pizza.
Maybe a frickin' Rawson pizza. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But again, it's not go down to the corner and buy a slice.
No.
And so in that sense, I don't see restriction. I see if I want to go to your house, I have to buy a ticket to the right country and then whatever other arrangements we have to make, right? If I want to drive to a friend's house, I have to go down certain roads in order to get there. If I don't use at least some certain roads, I'm never going to end up at my friend's house. Yeah. So you could say, oh, well, that's restrictive. Well, no, that's just how it's done. That's how you get there. That's the route. And so I'm not feeling, oh gosh, I wish I could do something else. No, I'm really happy with fruits and vegetables. I'm really happy with the outcome. Yeah. And for me, the outcome is way more important than you do what you have to do to get what you want to get.
Yeah. I always notice and also have noticed in myself that, once you gain some consistency with it and you've learned how to get enough calories and you've went through a season or two, maybe three, over the years, that it becomes even more enjoyable because you look forward to each season. You take advantage of each season as much as humanly possible. And like we're diving into persimmons and citrus, and I'm just loving it. And I'm so stoked. Simplicity over the day, week, and month. Sometimes I find that to be the most amazing thing ever. But nature switches it up on you, so it's always changing.
Not only is it always changing, and your awareness changes, right? Like you get better and now you're more in touch with, as you say, you're looking forward to persimmon season. And then by the time persimmon season ends and you're looking forward to lychee season, and each couple of months and you go, I know that's coming soon. There's going to be figs. There's going to be mango. There's going to be the best pineapples of the year in February and March, the best pineapples of the year, and on through the various foods that are peaking at different times of the year. I don't know. I had a good friend of mine one time who, and I've talked about him here and there. He was a nice enough man. He was a bit of an athlete. He worked in the city of Atlanta, but he traveled a lot within the city in his business. And his specialty area of knowledge was cheeseburger. he knew more about cheeseburger than anybody I've ever met.
Yeah.
And he ate cheeseburger for lunch every single day. And he knew every cheeseburger in Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Atlanta wasn't as big then as it is now. You know, we're talking 40 years ago, but he knew every cheeseburger in Atlanta. And he actually asked me one time if I got tired of eating just fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see this
I love
world
it.
of variety that I can't even get the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And he's eating a cheeseburger every day, asking me if I get tired
Yeah.
of eating
Yeah.
just fruits and vegetables. And I don't feel restricted, and I don't feel like, wow, this is a hardship
Yeah.
any more than I do with, oh, I've got to get a good night's sleep, or I'm going to pay a hard price for it. Or I've, you mean you don't flavor your air, you don't color your air, you don't have to put music in your air in order to enjoy breathing. No, I don't have to do a million things to my air, to my water, to my sleep. Look, I know lots of people who go for a run every day.
Yeah.
There's a guy down in Miami who's gone for a run on the beach every single day for the last 40 something years. He's never missed a day. And people go run with him, and it's a special thing to say, you know, you've been on that run, and that's his exercise. He goes for a run. And, oh, isn't it so restrictive? You have to go for a run. Don't you miss lifting weights? Don't you miss snow skiing? Don't you miss? Well, there's just no way in the world that he's going to go snow skiing and continue his streak of running every single day on Miami Beach.
Yeah.
Because the two don't mix, you know, you're just not going to go snow skiing on Miami Beach. So, there's no restriction. You get what you choose.
Yeah.
You don't have to eat 80-10-10.
No.
It's only if you want the results. I mean, I'm not doing it because it's better food. It's as good as any other food. I'm convinced it's easily as good as any other food.
It's hard to beat a good durian or a good cherimoya, though, I tell you. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to beat.
It's hard to beat a good mango. It's hard to it's hard to beat a really good banana.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's true. It's all trade-offs.
You know, yeah. But I want the outcome. And I encourage people to look to the outcome.
Yeah.
What's the result you want to get? You know, I mean, the number of people I've met who can't manage their weight.
Yeah.
And I'm just going like, eat fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier. Yeah.
Like weight management becomes a non-issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the big deal? You know, if you want to gain a pound, add muscle.
Yeah.
You know, or eat more. I mean, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Do both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, going into that, that's actually a really good segue into another misconception, that this diet and lifestyle, because it's, you know, high in fruit, that it only works for people who are really fit, you know, that you have to be a fitness geek, or you just like got to be running 24/7. I've heard some people say like, oh, it works because they're an endurance athlete and they just, you know, go crazy with that. But, you know, just in general, like, do you have to be like a fitness buff to do an 80-10-10 diet? Like, is that?
Well, let me start this way. There are cows that live in little restricted areas that are flat. And there's cows that live in great big open areas that are super hilly. And they cover more ground and they do a lot more work out in those hills. And so they eat more grass.
Yeah.
They all eat grass, in fact.
Yeah.
Just some eat more and some eat less.
Yeah.
In this case, we all eat fruits and vegetables. That's what we're made for. Some eat more, some eat less. Some people drive cars only, you know, a few thousand miles a year or less. And some people drive cars 50,000 miles a year and more. And the people who drive more go through more fuel.
Yeah.
80-10-10 works for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm as convinced of that as the day that the idea first came to me.
Yeah.
80-10-10 works for humans. It's what we're made for. Fruits and vegetables is our natural food, or are our natural foods. And athletes need to eat more of it. And the ultra athletes need to eat even more of it. And the super intense, crazy fit footballers, weightlifters, whatever they are, they need to eat more too, you know, and they could eat double, triple, quadruple and more of what a sedentary person eats. The question isn't even, and this is common, maybe it's another misconception, it's a misunderstanding. The question isn't even the right question. The question should be, does 80-10-10 only work for healthy people? Or if you want to be healthy, do you have to be fit? And the answer is, for sure, you have to be fit in some way or another if you wish to be healthy. There's no way, there's no combination of formula, of consequences, of all the different factors. There's no combination of health that doesn't include at least a modicum of fitness. There's no combination of factors if what we're trying to end up with is equals or results in health. Fitness has to be included in that package. You've got to be, you know, do we all need to be world-class athletes? No, not at all. Do you need to be able to go out and rake leaves for a couple hours without having a heart attack? That would be nice.
Yeah. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I mean, kind of like we talked about with the strictness as well. It's not that you have to force yourself to do it. It's just so beautiful and magical that the better you treat yourself, the better you live through living a lifestyle like this, you actually feel like moving more. So fitness becomes a result instead of being something forced in a lot of the cases I've seen.
Well, there's another side to the story, and that is the nutrition side, and the nourishment side is yet again another one, because there's many ways to nourish ourselves besides nutrients. But from the nutrition side of things, we full well understand that an athlete, an active person, is going to eat double or triple what an inactive person is, or at least a few hundred calories more, but often enough double and triple what a sedentary person will eat. And by so doing, will double or triple their calcium intake, their iron intake, their protein intake. All of the nutrients, all of them will be doubled or tripled based on this increased caloric intake. And in that sense, you go, if nutrition is really that important, because there's people who obviously seem to think it isn't based upon their chosen diets. But if nutrition is that important and you want to get more of this, that, or the next, you will indeed cover those nutritional. Now, there are, for most nutrients, it's really not even going to matter, but there are some nutrients, maybe say selenium, or just pick something out of a hat that we don't tend to get a lot of. Zinc or something, that you go, wow, there's just not a ton of it. Well, if there's not a ton of it in our food and you don't eat much because you're inactive, eventually that could become problematic, right? I mean, at least in theory, that could become problematic. So do you have to be active in order to be well nourished on any diet? Yes, except on 80-10-10, the nutrient mix more closely mimics our nutrient needs than any other program. So if that answer is yes for 80-10-10, it's even more yes for every other program.
And then you get the athletes that blow through calories, but just eat a bunch of junk food and they die earlier or have more cases of degenerative diseases. And
absolutely, yes.
Yes.
the athlete is at increased risk of a great number of problems that are food related. And they're also at risk of a great number of other problems because of the pressures of competing with other people who are willing to do anything in order to compete. So we end up seeing a tremendous number of people on performance enhancing drugs who suffer the consequences. Basically, usually it's either cancer or kidney collapse, kidney failure, liver failure. These things happen way too early in life, or heart failure. If we look at the strongmen, for instance, almost every single one of them that's died in the last 20 or 30 years has died from an undiagnosed heart problem. It's pretty astonishing that they all had this undiagnosed heart problem, which is known as enlargement of the heart. And we have to look at it and go, wow, you know, you've been on performance enhancing drugs. It causes muscles to enlarge. The heart is a muscle. Is it any wonder that the heart enlarged too? And until it failed, unfortunately, because it's not stronger, it just gets bigger. The chamber walls get weaker, not stronger. And there's no way to beat Mother Nature on this whole thing, man. We're designed to be active. We're designed to eat fruits and vegetables. We got to sleep. Now and again, we got to sleep. There's just no way to beat nature's plan for our health.
Yeah. No, amen to that, man. I hear that. Some people think that, you know, the 80-10-10 diet only works for, you know, endurance athletes. I know I've seen a lot of endurance athletes and maybe not as many strength training athletes. I know you train strength though, and you've known a lot of people who built a lot of muscle. So what do you think about that? Does this work specifically better for endurance or for strength or for muscle building?
So that's three different areas, and
just throwing it all at you.
That's okay, and that's good. It's nice to differentiate. We might as well put in the yoginis in there as well, right? And say, okay, how about for flexibility and neurologic skills and precision? And should the golfers, you know, what should the billiard players? Because they have to, you know, there's a lot of mental activity, a tremendous amount of physical skill development. And what I find is it works for all of them. Different reasons for each. I mean, we could spend a good while going through why is it good for a cardio guy? Why is it good for yogini? Why is it better? I mean, would you rather be playing billiards, smoking cigarettes, drinking Coca-Cola? You know, those kind of stimulants, which work nicely for stimulating gross muscle performance, but for fine motor control, you give it up. You give up all your fine motor control when you take stimulants. So, I mean, you wouldn't want to be taking performance enhancing drugs, for instance. You wouldn't want to be taking stimulants or even irritants if you're trying to do something that requires precision. In terms of strength development, well, you know, strength development happens from strength training, not from food. Muscle development happens from time under load increases and not from food. Good cardio skill happens from cardio training, not from food. So it's funny that we ask about food and all those things, and the answer comes out the same. 80-10-10 supports all forms of athletic performance. There's nothing where it would hold you back. And we have to at least look, however, at this question of building muscle, because it comes up, in my opinion, way more often than it should. I'm going to put this out as a big misconception that people are confusing strength training with bodybuilding. They're confusing strength training with muscle enlargement. And they're talking about gaining size in a zillion places where gaining size would actually be a disadvantage, not an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you an example of a springboard diver. Springboard diver goes up in the air, flips and twists and enters into the water, and they want to enter like a pin. They want to, the only thing you really want to hear is the sound of the springboard when it pops and throws the diver in the air. And then you want to hear as they enter the water. That's the only thing you should hear. No splash afterwards, just like okay. And the bigger your shoulders, the broader your shoulders, the more likelihood is you're going to make a big hole in the water, and there's going to be a splash and a kaboom and all kinds of things that you don't want to have happen. So getting stronger to be able to handle the forces involved of flipping and twisting, tremendous forces involved. Getting stronger works to your advantage, but getting bigger works against you. Mm-hmm. If you're a high jumper and all you're trying to do is jump as high as you can, gaining muscle makes you heavier. And the heavier you are, the harder it is to jump high. So effectively, whether it's basketball and you need to jump for a ball, or it's tennis and you need to change direction, or it's bicycle riding and you need to, you need to go up a hill with the weight, whatever you weigh. I'm having a really hard time coming up with any sport at all where it would be an advantage to gain muscle size, except bodybuilding. So bodybuilding, we can call it a sport, and I'm not taking anything away from the guys or the intensity of their training or anything else. We can call it a sport, but we could call it modeling. It could just be it could just be a form of modeling. Certainly a lot of models do bodybuilding in order to look really good, whatever they consider really good to be. I mean, the ideal look for a guy changes every decade, and the ideal look for a girl changes every 5 years. So, I mean, but whatever. Gaining muscle is actually a disadvantage in most sports because it makes you heavier, slower, and none of that works really to your advantage. Gaining strength is an advantage in every sport. Makes you quicker, does all the right things happen. So we really want to differentiate, and the interesting thing is that the differentiation is quite obvious. Strength athletes train completely differently than the way bodybuilders train. If you want to gain size, train like a bodybuilder trains. If you want to gain strength, train like a strength athlete trains. If you watch an Olympian, like an Olympic weightlifter, they pick a weight up once. They pick it up once, they walk away, and then they come back and they lift it once. You watch a bodybuilder training, they're doing 25, 30, 35 repetitions with the same weight. Boom, 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 until they get to muscle fatigue, until they might feel an anaerobic burn. They're going to the last possible repetition to increase the time under substantial load. The strength athlete doesn't want that. The strength athlete wants to be as quick as possible. It wants to be power involved. It wants to be 1, 2, 3 repetitions done, and minimal time under load, maximal load. Getting stronger is different than getting bigger. And I'm emphasizing it. I'm spending a long time on it, knowing full well that people will still misconfuse and misconstruct and misunderstand and still make this association in their head, just like they do with nutrition, where no matter what you say, people think more is better in the world of nutrition. And we know it's not. Even the people who think it know it's not, because they know that every single parameter of laboratory work that they've ever read shows you want to be not too high and not too low. You want to be in the mid range on those parameters, whatever it is. You know, you want your iron levels or your blood oxygen levels or whatever it is. We're always looking to be in the mid range.
Mm-hmm.
But we love to gawk. Gosh, we love to gawk. We love to look at odd physiques. And so if we can take a physique to an extreme like bodybuilders do, you know, the audience likes to look.
Yeah.
Because they're freaks.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely different from the main. And
They're different from the main. And I'm not knocking them by saying they're freaks. You know, I'm not saying it's bad if that's what they want to do. The athletes who perform better than everybody else are sort of freaks of nature too, but they don't necessarily look it. Gordie Howe is a freak of nature, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to compete in the NHL for almost 40 years of competition, and for most of that to have been a really powerhouse skater.
Yeah.
I know they let him on one more time, even in his 70s, I think, to skate for a few minutes just for the record. But, you know, he was a freak. I mean, Mickey Mantle was a freak. If you, even today, if you took all the things that makes a great baseball player and you put them all together into one human being, you'd come up with Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
You know, he was a freak, but he didn't look like a freak. He just looked like an average guy, but it was perfect for baseball, you know, or perfect for basketball, you know, and you get these super long arms and a big hand and amazing reflexes. And it's not just huge. It's a very specific thing. If you design the best swimmer that you possibly could, you know, you would come up with a man whose legs were short and whose body was long, and he would be abnormally so, which makes him a freak, but it makes him really good for swimming. If you want to make a really good ultra runner, you come up with a man who's or woman whose body is very, very short, freakishly short, but legs crazy long.
Yeah.
And that will be a marathon runner. They'll fly. They'll just fly, lungs and legs and eyes, and that's all they really need. Lungs on legs, right?
Lungs on legs.
Lungs on legs. And you'll see, like, okay, so do you have to be freakish? No, you don't have to be freakish. The thing is, we can all benefit from doing what other people do in order to get what we want to get. So even in the world of business, people use consultants because those consultants have helped other business people succeed. So if I do what he does, I'll get the results he got. And the same thing in sport, if I do what he does, I'll get the results he or she got. And the same thing in nutrition and food. You know, we look at 80-10-10, we look at raw food and we go, well, it worked for me. Maybe it'll work for somebody else. Oh, it worked for the first 100 people who tried it. Maybe it'll work for the next 100. Oh, it works and works. And it's our natural food. This is what nature's plan designed for us. It works every single time.
Yeah.
As does being fit if we want to be healthy. And I don't know. I can't speak for everybody else. I certainly haven't met everybody else. But I can't imagine the person who says, no, I'd rather be unhealthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know people so addicted to their bad habits that they'd say, I'd rather smoke, even if it means I need to be unhealthy, because they're that addicted to their habits.
Yeah.
Okay. I've met alcoholics who chose to drink until they died, but they weren't, you know, they still, if they had the choice of healthy or unhealthy, could I drink and be healthy? They would take healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all want healthy.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's in our hardwiring. We're designed to think healthy, which is that phrase, it's just a flesh wound.
Yeah. Just a flesh wound, merely a flesh
Pleasure.
wound.
I can keep going. The number of people I've met who just keep going, right? I sprained my ankle, but then I finished the marathon. Then I took care of it. Because in
Yeah.
our heads, we think, oh, maybe this will just go away. Maybe I can walk it off. Maybe I'll be all right in a day or two. Maybe I'll, and we know, I mean, this was something taught in school, and it's something I've seen play out with literally, virtually. I've seen it play out with every client that we think we're going to get well from whatever it is faster than the body actually can make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like we can think it in a second. Okay, I'm better. Well,
Yeah.
actually, no, the body has to go through some processes.
Damn it. If only, man. If only. If only. What do you think about the concept that this diet only works for fast metabolizers, and that if you're a slow metabolizer, an endomorph or an exomorph, any of these things, that it doesn't work for you? And the only reason why it's working for you, it kind of goes into like you need to be fit, kind of, but not really, because they're kind of saying that's different, that your body type, you're a fast metabolizer.
Man, this is such a huge topic. So let's start out with some basic physiology, if we can. If you open up a sports physiology text or any advanced medical physiology text, it will talk about something called metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
And metabolism is a thing, but it's not a thing that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has a metabolism. Metabolism is a thing of its own. And what it is it is the sum of all anabolic and all catabolic processes. Mm-hmm. So anabolic processes are the ones where we start with simple structures and we build them into more complex ones. So growth is an anabolic process. Mm-hmm. Catabolic processes are things where we start with complex structures and we break them down. The recycling of red blood cells and reutilization of red blood cells by the liver. This is catabolism first, and then it rebuilds new ones. That's anabolic. The rebuilding happens obviously in long bones. Growth is anabolic. Digestion is catabolic. We're breaking things down, breaking the food down. Okay. The sum, if we could measure, and we can, all of the anabolic processes and all of the catabolic processes, we come up with a thing called metabolism. Yeah. And that's what metabolism is. So you can't have a metabolism. Metabolism is the sum of two other things. Mm-hmm. All right. But you can have something called a metabolic rate. Now, metabolic rate is, without getting highly technical, metabolic rate has to do with how quickly you blow through fuel. Mm-hmm. And this is measured not just muscle use, but it's actually measured through square unit of surface area. So for people in the States, inch, in the rest of the world, centimeter, but per square centimeter of surface area of skin. And according to all physiology texts, I've never seen one that differed with this opinion. The mammalian metabolic rate is the same, unchanged. All mammals have the exact same metabolic rate as all other mammals. Mm-hmm. All humans have the same metabolic rate as all other humans, as all mammals. It doesn't matter whether it's a church mouse or an elephant or a human. We all have the exact same, we're all mammals, we all have the same metabolic rate per unit of surface area of skin. Mm-hmm. Okay. Plus or minus 5%. So there's the tiniest possibility that it could be a little bit more or a little bit less, but almost indistinguishable, almost identical with it. I mean, if human size was plus or minus only 5%, we'd all pretty much be the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to start with, the scientists say no. There's no such thing as fast or slow metabolic rate, but you do go through different amounts of fuel based on your activity levels. The weird thing is that when this whole metabolizer, I'm a fast metabolizer, I'm a slow metabolizer, came out, what it came out as was a rationale for consuming a high-fat diet.
Yeah.
And the rationale was that we need to consume a high-fat diet if we're a fast metabolizer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And only slow metabolizers can get by on this, fruits and vegetables, because there's no calories in it, and the food, it goes through you so fast, and so only slow metabolizers. And they point to me specifically and say only slow metabolizers can get away with fruits and vegetables. But Doug can get away with fruits and vegetables because he does so much, because he's so active. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not that active. I'm an active guy maybe, but I'm not that active. I spend all day behind a computer. I'm not an ultra athlete spending 4 or 5 hours a day doing cardio. Okay, first of all. But the two terms are actually contradictory when they're saying, okay, it only works for fruits and vegetables only works for slow metabolizers. Fast metabolizers need to eat nuts and seeds and oils and olives. But the fast metabolizer actually, obviously, is like a fast car or an ultra athlete. The athletes go through more fuel, and that's what they're saying, fast metabolizers. So to say athletes are slow metabolizers doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And of course, then people will say, well, no, we weren't talking about metabolic rate. We're using a different meaning of the word metabolizers. And at that point, I can only say, oh, well, you're using some term that you've made up that you can't define, that doesn't exist anywhere else.
Sounds nice, though. It's funny, those things that people use that sound nice, but don't really hold up to scrutiny.
It's a unicorn.
Yeah.
It's a unicorn problem.
Yeah.
So really, do we see that some people have, two people could eat the identical foods and one could lose weight and one could gain even on the same activity levels? Yes.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
But it's not because of metabolic rate. No. It's because some people digest their food really well and absorb their food really well and utilize their food really well, and others don't. Yeah. And some people really don't digest well, and some people don't absorb well. Hence, there's a condition called malabsorption syndrome.
Yeah.
And we know that these people, I've had clients eating 6,000 calories a day, losing weight with malabsorption that was so bad that until we corrected the malabsorption, all they could do was lose weight. Yeah. And this is a different thing than a fast or slow metabolism. It has nothing to do with metabolism. This has to do with digestive efficiency, absorptive efficiency. These processes have to happen. And even then, the ability to assimilate the food and turn it into you requires some efficiency in the liver. So there's a lot going on. Pretty much everybody thinks that they could become a public speaker because they know how to talk. But becoming a public speaker requires, to be good at it, requires some skills.
Yeah.
Or I could write a book because I know how to, write a sentence. Yeah. But even constructing a sentence requires more than what I just read a book this morning for a woman who's highly professional, has great credentials, but really doesn't know much about writing.
Hmm.
And so we have to now go back and say, you don't have to learn much about writing. All you need to do is hire an editor.
Hmm.
Let the editor rewrite what you wrote. Let the editor edit.
Hmm.
So the same thing in the world of nutrition. So many people think, I know everything there is to know about nutrition. I eat food, therefore I know.
Yeah.
How many people have you met who thought they were dietary experts just
Everyone.
because they eat food?
Almost everyone.
Yes, I appreciate you letting me go off on this one. But it's a lot of people think they're experts, just
Oh,
they're
okay.
food experts just because they eat. And this is not the case. It's simply not the case. So I'm watching a lot of people who mistakenly think they know a lot about the world of nutrition,
Yeah.
but they haven't really studied or researched or done homework,
Yeah.
and they're just saying what seems to make sense to them.
Yeah.
And the problem with it in this world where information is so easily accessible, as we say, is it leads us to a whole lot of misinformation getting
Yeah.
out and about.
Yeah.
And then we have to deal with it. So I'm not knocking anybody, but I will keep working to bring credible, clear, concise science to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the best mix when it's, the best available science as well as long-term experience, intuition, and something that Mother Nature shows us as well. Like when all those things come together, instead of someone just saying, I experienced this, and so this makes sense. When you have those four pillars, I find it's going to be a heck of a lot more credible. And a lot of people are missing the science and longevity.
Well, I love the people who are so excited that they go, hey, I'm not doing what I used to be doing, but I have no idea where I'm going now, but I'm really excited, so follow me.
Yeah.
And I go, well, great. But it would be good to have, as you say, the other pillars. It'd be nice to have the education. It'd be nice to have the experience and not just enthusiasm. It would be nice to have decades of success behind your pattern rather than, well, I did this for 3 days. It worked really well. I'm going to do it forever.
Yeah.
It's a big decision to make on forever after just 3 days.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
I mean, I know there's people, you meet somebody and you go, okay, the day you met him, you decide to marry him and it works. But
Yeah.
most instances that doesn't work so well.
That's more the movies. Yeah, with the fast and slow metabolizer, something I've often kind of thought with that too is, barring the digestion and strength of digestion, oftentimes people are kind of fixed with the concept that you don't need to eat much when you're on a raw food diet, and they don't really understand the concept of eating enough fruit and vegetables to get enough. So they kind of segue instead into the heavier, higher fat foods that seem like less volume, and they can actually get enough calories eating the amount of volume that they conceptually think is great. And thus they just, for the excuse, it's like, oh, well, I'm a fast metabolizer, so that's why I need that food.
Well, again, we need to gain an understanding somehow, and best is through experience. I have a client wrote to me each of the last couple of days, a problem of running out of energy, just plain running out of energy, not understanding why. I go, to me, my guess is you're not eating enough. I have a sneaking suspicion you're not eating enough. And she said, well, I'm eating these huge volumes of like cactus fruit, or I'm eating huge volumes of berries or something.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it might be huge volumes, but do the actual math and get back to me. Check it on a nutrition. She comes back, she goes, wow, I'm eating like 600 calories a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I go, yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You're eating next to nothing.
Yeah.
And it most definitely requires a rethink in terms of what's a normal, natural volume. Going from mainstream mindset to a raw food or an 80-10-10 mindset where we have to increase the volume in order to just get our basic needs met.
Yeah.
Until that increased volume seems like normal volume. And that takes practice. That just takes practice. Until now, when people tell me, oh yeah, I'm eating a Happy Meal, and I go, that's so puny.
Yeah. I
You look at what most people put on their plate for a dinner, a cooked
yeah.
food dinner, and it's so puny in terms of
Yes.
volume. I feel sorry for them. Like
Me
how
too. I love volume.
and the thing is, you think to yourself, like, how could they be satisfied on such little volume? And the answer is they're not. They're
Yeah.
going to eat that volume twice
Yeah.
and double their calorie requirement in the process. They're going to eat double what they need, and then they're going to lose the weight management part
Yeah.
of the
And they're gonna
equation.
snack. They're gonna probably end up snacking, and like
Well, yeah. I mean, the average person, I think, eats 6 or 7 times a day.
yeah,
That's a lot of snacking. I mean,
yeah, it is.
they're basically never satisfying themselves with a meal, and eating way beyond their caloric requirements, which not only makes them energy less, so they're sedentary,
Mhm.
but they're gaining weight like there's no tomorrow. And I mean, people are, if you look over the decades and you go, okay, what was the average weight of a human male of the same height? What was the average weight of a human male in each of the last 5 decades? We're just watching it go up, 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 up.
Yeah, yeah,
You
and
know,
it's not muscle.
no, it's not muscle, and they're not, and it's still, like I say, it's the same height.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
they're just getting heavier and heavier,
yeah,
and it's working against them.
yeah.
I mean, obesity works against everybody.
I've heard another misconception, and I know you've heard this one as well, that 80-10-10 is too idealistic. What do you think of that?
Yeah, some people told me one time that 80-10-10 is too healthy.
Yeah, yeah, you're crazy. You're just
Okay,
too.
so
You got to be crazy.
um, when kids are born and parents take such good care of those kids, they nurture their. I mean, when a mom finds out she's pregnant, she'll stop smoking, she'll stop drinking,
Hope so.
she'll start paying attention to what she eats, she'll start taking prenatal vitamins. I
Yeah,
mean, amazing. The sense of I need to start nurturing my baby, and then
yeah,
the baby's born and we need to nurture the baby. Don't
yeah.
wake the baby and don't irritate the baby and don't drop the baby on its head, and
Yeah.
whatever it might be. I mean, football
Yeah.
players get
Good.
dropped on their head all the time.
Yeah.
It's okay if you're 280 pounds and
With a big helmet, hopefully, too.
but don't drop the baby on its head. And I agree. Like, let's
Yeah.
nurture the baby in every way possible. Let's do all we can to support and nurture that baby, with an understanding that there's a fine line between mother and smother. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
you got to allow the baby to grow up. But it doesn't mean the baby has to grow up through hardship. The baby has to grow up to take responsibilities. Baby has to grow up to be true to their word. Baby has to grow up to to be productive and helpful and kind and all the things the values we cherish. Mm-hmm. So I'm not seeing how we could be too healthy, too idealistic. Maybe we could be too idealistic. Maybe there's the real world, and then there's my dream of what the real world could be like. Yeah. Okay, how do I go about creating the ideal world the way I see it could be? I go about creating that world by being the living example of that person.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to be vegan to the degree that I possibly can. I'm going to take good care of myself so that I can not only be productive, but I can be helpful to others, more than requiring the help of others. I believe in being interactive with others, but I'd rather be a caregiver than a care-getter. I'd rather be healthy enough to be able to help others than so unhealthy that I need somebody to change my diaper for me or something. I don't want that happening.
No.
And on through these various types of things, I need to be the person that is living the idealism that I see the world could become.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't do it, then nobody else sees my world.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I can share my vision,
Yeah.
and then other people catch on to it. And we've seen this happen in 80-10-10. So
Absolutely.
I'm seeing the grocery store increase the fruit and vegetable department.
Me
I
too.
mean, they've catching on to my idea. We need a bigger fruit and vegetable department.
More
And
varieties of everything.
my local grocery store went from one aisle to two.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big change just
Yeah.
in my little store. I mean, it only has 10 aisles. They made a 10% something moved out for them to move produce in.
Yeah.
And we're seeing more and more people catching on to this idea with I don't know, but you may have been the person who instituted the first fruit luck, but there's lots of them everywhere now.
Yeah.
And way back when, when we started the very first fruit festivals, Dave Klein and I, now there's fruit festivals. Heck, there's going to be lots of them in Europe and many
Yeah.
of them in the States and a few in South America as well. So I think in the next 3 years, we're going to see just a bursting of festivals, fruit festivals coming around, like more than ever, double and triple what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
So we have to share the vision.
The world needs it, man. The world needs it.
I don't think you can be too idealistic, to be quite honest. I think you take the best care of yourself that you possibly can.
Yeah.
And be willing to make exceptions, when you have to. I mean, my daughter wasn't well. I stayed up a good part of the night helping her through a tummy problem. Okay, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Or a neighbor's house is on fire and you need to help them out. I mean, you do what you got to do. If you don't have the vitality to be able to do that, sometimes to get from one place to another, I have to fly all night.
Yeah.
And you could say, well, no, I would never fly. 80-10-10 does not include flying. 80-10-10 does not include staying. No, I'm willing to be flexible. I'm willing to compromise. I'm willing to make exceptions.
Yeah.
But I want to accumulate health to the best of my abilities. So the things that I do all the time add up far more rapidly than the exceptions that I ever make.
Yeah.
That's the way I want it to be. That's the way I need it to be. That's the way I want it to be, so that I can continue to accrue health. As you know, I just qualified. You were there. Qualified for national championships in powerlifting. Yeah. So I want to have the health to go.
Yeah.
And to do that, I have to take really good care of myself. There's just no way around it.
No, it makes sense. Makes sense. I think it's just such a strange perspective that some people have, that in order to be walking that line in a way that you enjoy it and get the great results, you have to be almost off kilter. Like, come on, have some fun.
I know how to have fun.
Yeah.
I know how to have fun.
Yeah.
I think the difference between the fun I have and the fun maybe an alcoholic might have is that I can remember the fun that I had.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what happened.
I know what happened last night.
What did I do last night? Oh, I actually know what I did.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And when you feel good, it's a lot easier to have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, having fun is an automatic part of the day. And I can remember it. So everybody has their own fun, I guess. Everybody's got to pick and choose what's important for them.
Yeah.
I do find a lot of people, if you ask them, like when they're on their deathbeds, if you had the opportunity to take better care of yourself, would you do so if you got another chance? And people say, yeah, I would take better care of myself.
Yeah,
definitely. I'd take better care of myself. But even Mickey Mantle said that. I know this is the second time I talk about him, but he was a hero of mine when I was a kid. But he was a very hardcore drinker, man. He
was he?
Yeah, he was a heavy drinker, and he experienced a lot of harm from that, had a bunch of surgeries and whatnot. And when asked, when he got really old, his number one comment was, if I'd known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself.
Yeah. And you don't know what you got until you start to lose it, right? It's kind of
And then
great.
you just go, oh man, I wish I had done better. So I like the idea of no regrets.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I'm willing to cut off my nose to spite my face. If neighbors need help, I'm going to help them, and it doesn't really matter. My lifestyle is important to me, and I need it to be the bulk of the time that I follow the guidelines that I didn't create. I mean, these are created and passed down to us by nature. I don't question. Oh, let's see if I can go without sleep for this week. Well, no, I really don't want to find out. Yeah. Been there, done that. Don't need to do it again.
Yeah.
I don't think. If 80-10-10 is idealistic, what does that make everything else? Less than idealistic. Because the opposite of idealistic isn't realistic.
Yeah.
Right? The opposite of idealistic must be like unidealistic, having no ideals.
Yeah.
Wow. Sad.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they call it sad.
Yeah. Yeah. The sad diet. I like one time, well, actually, maybe a few times I've heard you say that 80-10-10 is actually ultra conservative. It's not extreme because it's actually looking at, what nature provides and what we're designed for. And
very true. It's still true.
Yeah. I love it.
It's not a radical approach to health.
No.
It's a conservative approach to health. We want to conserve the health we have. We want to even build more. Yeah. A radical approach to health is when you basically piss away your health as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Whether it's smoking, drinking, doing drugs, eating all the wrong foods, not paying attention to your bodily requirements, losing your fitness abilities, losing your mental faculties. I don't know where you think you're going to get more of that stuff from, but I'm conserving the health I've got and doing everything I can to accumulate more. Mm-hmm. And if I start to lose it at some point because, everybody gets old and dies, I'm going to be holding on by my fingernails, going down as slowly as I can. I want to hang in there for as long as possible because I like being able to go out and have fun.
Me too, man. Me too. Well, as far as fun goes too, some people think that making food is a drudgery, and a misconception that I've often heard is that 80-10-10 takes way too much time in the kitchen, and it only works if you just basically have no job and you can sit in the kitchen all day. And I've heard people say it a few times. What do you think about that?
Well, I know how to spend time in the kitchen. I do know how to create foods in the kitchen that take a lot of time. Mm-hmm. I don't make that my goal, and I certainly don't make that my strong point. Mm-hmm. But I know how to make plenty of things that require a fair bit of time in the kitchen. I'm not the expert. Like, I know raw food chefs who could take 8 hours to make one little thing, and it's art it's art as well as food. It's a beautiful construction, and that's not my thing. I also know that I can walk into the kitchen, see grapes, and just eat them. I don't need to do anything. Yeah, eat. It's instantaneous. Like, the people have to go get fast food when I've got instantaneous food in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to peel the banana before I eat it. But a lot of the food, you just grab it and eat it as is, the apple, the pear, the grape, the strawberry. We don't even have to do anything, and it's instantaneous food. Yeah. And the thing that really struck me when I first got into the concepts of 80-10-10 was how freeing it is in the kitchen to see food, eat food. Yeah. Like, it's just like, Okay, how long does it take to peel a banana? Well, that's not a lot of prep.
No, no.
Uh,
Less
and
dishes too, hey?
and if you gain a few basic skills, like learn how to handle a knife and how to chop,
Yeah.
I mean, chopping lettuce and chopping tomatoes and make a salad dressing, you've got salad. It's pretty darn fast.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know how to make things that take longer, but I don't do it day in and day out. See how long I can be in the kitchen. And on days where our whole family's out for this, that, or the other thing, and we don't even get home till 6, I can still have dinner on the table by the time everybody's got cleaned up for dinner.
Yeah.
It can be pretty quick.
Yeah. I find it really funny, Doug, because like on any diet, you can take a lot of time. And essentially, if you're trying to eat healthy and you're making things from scratch rather than just from a box, it's going to take some time. And sure, it's no different with raw food. If you want to make something a little bit more elaborate or complex, but like you said, there is no faster food than fruit and a head of lettuce if you want, just to eat, right? Like, or just a bunch of fruit. Like it can be as fast as you want, or you can take some time if you feel like a special occasion or just putting the time and energy in.
If You're exactly right. If you're making food from scratch, it takes time.
Yeah.
If all you're doing is opening a can of tomato paste and you're going to have 10 people over instead of 2, you just open a bigger can of tomato paste.
Yeah. Yeah.
And raw food, you can't do that. But in raw food, I can go buy a case of bananas instead of a banana.
Yeah.
I can buy a box of what buy oranges by the case, buy grapes by the case, buy avocados by the case, buy everything pretty much by the case.
Yeah.
And so even the purchasing is quick. I mean, I can purchase my food faster than most people can get through a grocery store. I can go to my produce guy and throw boxes in the back of my truck, and if I don't have the money, he'll charge me next week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the grocery store won't do that for you. So I don't have to put a lot of time into food, but I do like making a dinner meal where the family can sit and enjoy it.
I've enjoyed some of those too, and I enjoy the heck out of those as well.
Sure, but even then, so okay, so you're at my house. We've got 5 adults sitting down to eat dinner. That's a lot of raw food.
Yeah.
And when 3 of us make it, it goes by in a flash.
Yeah, it's quick.
But the 4 of you could go out and leave me with the kitchen, and by the time you come home, there's drinks, there's hors d'oeuvres, there's a salad, there's maybe something to go with the salad, burgers or something. Maybe there's a dessert after. I mean, doesn't take a long time.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to take a long time. I teach a culinary skills course where we teach people how to estimate how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
And a meal, a really simple meal, you're wise to allow 15 minutes a person.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make the meal even a little bit interesting, and you want to finish the cleanup, and you want to present it nicely, and you want to have a couple courses, allow 30 minutes a person.
Mm-hmm.
That's realistic. But I watch all kinds of shows where they take 30 and 40 minutes to make a meal, or to make even a dish. Oh, we want to make this thing, you got to create the sauce, you got to create the breading or the crusty stuff, I mean, even just to deep fry a mushroom, there's a whole lot goes into it before it's ready to, you got to make that bread thing that you're going to put it on. And then, you know what? Everything takes time. It comes back to health. If you've got your health, you can make good use of your time. If you don't have your health, then you're in bed wasting time, wishing you had your health.
Absolutely. No, it's totally true, man. It's totally true. Well, thank you so much, Doug, for going over these common misconceptions. I encourage everyone to check out some of the past videos and the other misconceptions, as well as the first one we did. Where can everyone find you? And do you want a closing thought?
I'm right here.
You're there? Where else can we find you if we don't have your Zoom link?
Well, if you can't zoom into me right now, They can always find me on Food and Sport. Anybody wants to reach me, I'm easy to reach on Food and Sport. Foodandsport.com. It's 10 letters, food with the letter N in the middle, and then sport, no S on the end, 10 letters, Food and Sport. Go to foodandsport.com. We got the hugest Q&A you'll ever find anywhere about raw foods. We've got a free forum that you can register, and we don't want to ask anything of you, but you can come on the forum, and it's been functioning for years. There's thousands of questions. You can have all your questions answered. We don't do personal health consulting on the forum. If you want to consult with me, go to my website and fill out my consultation form, and I'll happily answer you. I won't guess about anybody's health, so piecemeal bits of information. What should I do? I don't do that. I'm going to act professionally. I know that every case is unique. Every individual is unique, and we need to handle it in a unique fashion like any other doctor responsibly would. But I'm easy to find on Food and Sport. That's probably the best. There's a couple of channels, YouTube channels and Twitter.
I'll put that below and
Instagram.
Your Instagram link as well at Dr. Doug Graham, right?
I'm not a big fan of social media. So if they want to find me, go to your social media, and
I'll have links.
If they want to find you, just ask, and I'll tell people how to find you.
Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. And I just want to again encourage everyone, if you want to avoid misconceptions of the 80-10-10 diet, actually read the 80-10-10 diet. Put it on your list. It's really important to read the book. It's not what you think. If you haven't read it, it'll change you. It'll change your perception of the world. Absolutely. I had been applying the diet and lifestyle for, I think, 4 or 5 years before I read the book. And it still blew me away. And I've been in personal contact with you. I mean, the book is amazing. I absolutely recommend everyone check it out. And thank you so much again, Doug. Really appreciate you, man.
Chris, it's a treat. It's a treat to spend time with a guy who's got a skateboard named after him. I mean, his name engraved on the skate. You're amazing. You're a super athlete, a really wonderful guy. Tickled that you're my friend, and look forward to doing more of these with you.
Absolutely. Thanks, brother. Much love. See you guys.
Is the raw food diet too restrictive? Hope you enjoyed Dr. Graham's answers.
Ooh, don't forget to check out my raw recipes playlist in the top left, the video just for you in the top right, subscribe for more videos in the bottom right, and get your 3 free ebooks in the bottom left. Grab your free raw recipe app available on iPhone and Android with over 100 free raw recipes, common fruit and vegetable calorie breakdown, frickin' raw and food combining chart, shopping cart function, and so much more.